Wow. We got a couple accused of pulling off a caper, arrested for their participation in a $200,000 cruise and jewelry scam. We also have multiple cruise lines dealing with lawsuits, and Carnival's cracking down. They're cracking down on card players. This doesn't really feel like an episode of the cruise show today. It feels more like an episode of Court, the People's Court.
All aboard! Your ship is leaving. Talking about everything going on in cruising. It's the Lido Loca time. It's the cruise show. It's the cruise show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. Welcome to the cruise show. I am your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. It's everything going on in cruising. It's for your face. For your face on a Thursday the 9th of April, 2026. How the heck are you? I'm doing good. I'm just a few days away from my journey to Philadelphia in Pennsylvania for our group cruise, the La Lido Loca Bermuda Triangle group cruise. Hopefully we might see an alien. I don't know, but there's a lot to talk about when it comes to cruising, so let's do it. Do you love cruising? I love cruising. Get locked in. Get locked. The best way to be locked in is to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, and let's go. Story number one is a story of potential scamorama ding dong. A Miami couple has been arrested and charged in a $200,000 cruise and jewelry scheme, a caper as it were. And look, it's a story as old as time. Miami officials arrested Maria Diaz and her husband Antonio Diaz, and the claim is simple. They went out there and they sold cruises and luxury jewelry to people, taking their money, piling up that money, and never delivering the goods. No cruises, no Rolexes, not even a cheap Mickey Mouse watch. They just took the money and go on, take the money and run. Ooh, shout out ludicrous. This is really a despicable case. At one point, this couple charged a whole group of 20, $44,000 for a cruise on Royal Caribbean's Quantum of the Seas. And when people started trying to get the information about the cruise and the booking and all that stuff, they were notified that their cruise had been canceled because the employee who booked the cruise got fired, which seems, come on. I love a good excuse, but you're trying to tell me some multi-billion-dollar corporation, the bookings are hinging on one person? There's definitely red flags, but the problem is when you build trust relationships with people, especially people that are trying to get your trust, these scam artists, you just get lost in this hole. You don't know any better. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do to protect ourselves? One easy thing is to book directly through the cruise line. Call the cruise line's number, use the cruise line's website. The problem with doing that, sometimes you don't get the expertise and the help that you need with booking your cruise. There's a lot of great travel professionals out there, but you want to make sure you vet your travel professional. Ask your travel professional some questions. You see somebody on the Facebook saying, I'm a travel agent, I'll help you with your booking. You should ask some questions. You should ask for some references. Can you give me somebody that's worked with you before? How many cruises have you booked? How long have you been in the industry? Who are you affiliated with? Who are you affiliated with? You should do some due diligence. I think the problem is we are trusting. I think it's our nature to be trusting, and people take advantage of that trust. Now, the Diaz's do face a litany of charges based on this felony charges. So if convicted, this is going to be really bad for them. And if they were scamming people and they are guilty of what they are alleged, good. They should get in trouble for sure. They're getting charged with organized fraud exceeding $50,000, grand theft of more than $100,000, issuing worthless checks, theft involving an elderly victim. Yeah, if they get convicted, they're going to do 30 plus years in prison, as they should. Even the guy was running a friends and family Rolex special. If somebody tries to sell you a Rolex with a friends and family discount and they've never worked for Rolex, that's a red flag. Or if somebody's trying to sell you a Rolex at Battery Park in New York City in front of the Statue of Liberty, chances are that I wear a silly shout out ludicrous. Chances are that Rolex is fake. The cruise scammers, they're out there to get you. Be on the lookout. Be careful. And hopefully the long arm of the law does its job here. Well, spring has sprung. It's warmer. The days are longer. And one thing remains true. I need help. I need help when it comes to my daily nutrition. That's why I'm thankful for the sponsor of today's episode, AG1. AG1 Next Gen is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and filling common nutrient gaps. But I think the thing I like most about AG1 is to help me clear those bottles off of the counter. 75 ingredients, including 5 probiotic strains. It replaces the multivitamin, replaces the probiotic, and more. This is probably one of the easiest parts of my daily routine. I just get up every morning, I get out my canister, I get out the cold water, I get out my shaker bottle, 1 scoop of AG1, 8 ounces of cold water, shake vigorously, drink it down. This original flavor has the taste of vanilla and pineapple. They've even got you covered when you go traveling. There's travel size AG1. Super flexible, super easy to try, risk-free. You can update, you can cancel your subscription at any time. We're talking immune health, we're talking energy, NSF certified for sport. Now, this is a great time to try AG1. If you would like, go to drinkag1.com/La Lido Loco. Scan the QR code that's on the screen. You're going to get the AG1 flavor sampler, a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 for free. You're going to get that in the welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription. It's a $72 value. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's episode. All right, next on the docket today is a series of lawsuits that have been levied against cruise companies. Cruise Hive, they put out an article today that chronicled 3 lawsuits that Royal Caribbean was served at the end of March, and they're all basically slip and fall injuries. Title of the Cruise Hive article, Royal Caribbean served with 3 new lawsuits from injured guests. It's by our friend Katie over there at Cruise Hive. A shout out, Katie. First lawsuit came on March the 19th, 2026. This is an injury that happened in February of 2025. There was a gentleman that was enjoying his time on the Oasis of the Seas, and he slipped and fell in the Central Park area. And if you're familiar with Oasis class cruise ships, you know that Central Park is that area that has all the plants. So it's an open to the sky area with plants and tile that you walk on, walkways. And, you know, when it gets wet in there, that tile is slippery. And well, the person that is bringing the lawsuit said that they slipped in that area when it was wet, and that there wasn't enough like wet floor signs out. There wasn't enough to notify him that it could be potentially dangerous in that area that was open to the sky. It's interesting, they even have umbrellas there. If you've ever been on those ships, there's umbrellas by the doors before you go out to Central Park. This is a place where people have fallen before, and the contention of this lawsuit that was filed at the end of March is that Royal Caribbean is not doing enough to warn people about the potential danger in that area. Lawsuit number 2 that was filed at the end of March involves an incident that happened on the Navigator of the Seas. And this one involved a guest that slipped and fell somewhere near the Windjammer buffet area on deck 11. This happened back in May of 2025. And if you know anything about the Windjammer area on Navigator of the Seas, it is connected to the Lido deck, to the pool deck. So that is a scenario where there definitely is water, pool deck, pool, hot tubs. There's wet people milling around. Now, you're not allowed to be in the Windjammer with a wet bathing suit. But again, this is one of those scenarios where the guest bringing the lawsuit says, hey, the floor is wet here sometimes, and there was not enough warning to let me know that the floor may be wet. And when, I fell because of it. Royal Caribbean was negligent in keeping me safe. Not enough wet floor signs, not enough warning, that kind of thing. That's basically the contention of most every slip and fall thing, is that the company did not give, enough notice, enough warning about the potential to fall. And then the last lawsuit that was filed in March against Royal Caribbean involves a guest on Odyssey of the Seas. Odyssey of the Seas back in April of 2025. Guest was up on the pool deck. He tripped and fell over what he's calling a misplaced lounge chair. The contention in this slip and fall is that Royal Caribbean did not do enough to keep the lounge chairs maintained and organized in a way that it would not be a tripping and falling hazard. And now, there's a lawsuit. It should be interesting. They got the high power lawyers over there at Royal Caribbean. I think they've got like Matlock and Perry Mason and whoever Joe Pesci played from My Cousin Vinny. So they're going to do their lawyering stuff and, go at these lawsuits. But it's not to say that these big companies, just because they got, teams like that they should be let off the hook. So hopefully this will be adjudicated in a way where it's where justice is served. And if these companies, if Royal was negligent, then hopefully these people get what they deserve. I've heard some other commentators talk about this and say, should you just instinctively know that anytime you're under an open sky that the ground you're walking on could be wet? Maybe. If you're out on the pool deck, should you certainly assume that the floor would be wet? I think that one's even a better case. And honestly, if you're walking along somewhere where there's chairs, should you be mindful of where the chairs are? I think all those points will probably be made in court. I don't really know where the line of the law is on those kind of things, but it will be interesting to see how it plays out. That's 3 lawsuits for Royal Caribbean International, but the Royal Caribbean Group isn't done. We also have a lawsuit being filed against Celebrity Cruises. This happened on the Celebrity Reflection in January of 2025, and somebody was at an event in the Grand Foyer and they tripped over a speaker. Their contention was that the speaker was misplaced in the middle of the dance floor where people normally, freely move around, and all of a sudden there's an obstruction that wasn't expected, and now there is an injury. Of course, I'm not a high-powered lawyer or anything, but I know what I would go with if I was arguing this case. I would go with the Midnight Star approach. I'd be like, no parking, baby. No parking on the dance floor. That's what happens when you park on the dance floor. All of a sudden, you're tripping on a speaker. My feelings on this is the same as the other one. If there is some sort of responsibility by the cruise line, hopefully that is fleshed out and people get what they need. But if it's an unreasonable claim, hopefully that gets dealt with also. I got one more court case. Like I said, it's the People's Court today. As we look at these things, just remember that, again, cruising's fairly safe, but you still have the ability to fall down and to run into things and all those other things that happen in life. Cruising does not happen in a bubble. And so be careful out there. And cruise companies, make sure your stuff is straight. Now, this last one is not ongoing litigation. It is settled litigation, and it deals with a super sad case that happened a couple years ago. There was a cruise passenger that was sailing on the Norwegian Getaway. They went to Bermuda, and this gentleman, Hyun Duk Shin, his wife and his 2 sons, took an excursion and went to Horseshoe Bay in Bermuda. Now, while they were on the beach, a girl that was in the water got carried out by a riptide, and in a very heroic act, Han Juk Shin jumped in the water, was able to save the girl, but in the effort to save the girl, he was caught in the riptide, and he was taken out to sea, and he drowned. He passed away. Contention of the family was this was a dangerous place. There had been reports given to the captain about the danger of this place, and nobody warned them. This was an excursion that was booked through the cruise line, and there was no warnings that said it's dangerous to swim out in Horseshoe Bay. So they sued Norwegian Cruise Line, and this lawsuit was just a couple days before going to trial, and Norwegian Cruise Line and the family settled the suit. Now, the settlement amount wasn't disclosed, but it is interesting as you look at some of the documentation for this case. Norwegian's contention at the beginning of this, they filed for summary judgment to get the case dismissed. Their contention at the beginning was it's really not our responsibility to let people know that when they go swimming that there is a potential of danger. It is an interesting question to ponder because where exactly is that line? Should the cruise lines be telling people that, hey, when you go out on your excursion, what you're doing could be dangerous? Or do we lean into some, personal responsibility? I don't know. In this tragic case, no amount of money is going to bring, that person back. And that's, it's probably gut wrenching for the family there. But I don't know. Norwegian settles. And that brings a close to our court cases today. I got to tell you about Carnival cracking down on cards. But before I do that, let's celebrate with our friends on the West Coast because they've just got another cruising option. It's not MSC. There's still a lot of people on the West Coast waiting for MSC to go west, young man. But what we do have is a young lady with a tail going west. We're talking about Virgin Voyages' Brilliant Lady. She just kicked off her first sailing out of LA on the 6th, just a few days ago. Going to be doing Mexican Riviera cruises for a period of time. But once the Alaska season starts, the Brilliant Lady is going to go up to Alaska, and it really opens the door for West Coast cruisers to another cruise line. A lot of people love the adults-only Virgin Voyages, and it's a fairly new cruise ship. The biggest complaint you get off the West Coast is limited itineraries and old hardware, at least with Virgin Voyages' Brilliant Lady. Now you've got some new hardware and a whole new style of cruising. Are you out on the West Coast? Are you trying out Virgin? What do you think? Leave a comment below. Now, I do got to tell you about a wild scenario about a dude who was able to book a cruise on the same day as the cruise, 2 hours before the cruise, and had to scramble to get on the cruise. And I know the guy. This is my friend Tommy Casabona, my partner over at Cruise Talk with Tommy and Tony. We do the Cruise Talk Weekly podcast. He just got back from an 8-day cruise on the Carnival Horizon, the one that broke down. And the beginning of his cruise is him being notified on the same day of the cruise that he was able to cruise, and then trying to scramble to get from West Palm Beach to the cruise port within like 90 minutes. Make sure you go over to Cruise Talk with Tommy and Tony, or go anywhere that you get audio podcast and look for Cruise Talk Weekly to hear that full story. It is a wild one. Now, let's talk about Carnival cracking down on card players. This is an interesting thing on cruising, and it's not just Carnival. People love to play games on cruise ships. I love to play games, board games. We like to play our digital version of Wingspan on our iPads. People bring decks of cards, all kinds of things. And the challenge for the gamers is you got to find a place to play. Now, gamers that have no sensitivity or concern for anybody else will just set up shop at the buffet in the middle of the lunch rush, which you see those people and you just want to say to them, what are you doing? Two people sitting at a four-top playing a card game or a board game while a family of four is carrying around plates of food looking for a place to sit, and they're just looking at them like, well, we got here first. Sucks to be you. First come, first serve. We've got some cruise lines taking a stand against it. When I was on the Norwegian Jewel a few months back, there was a sign posted that said, hey, if you want a game, don't do it here. There's some places open, the dining rooms open on the cruise ship. Now it looks like Carnival is following suit. Carnival following suit, saying, hey, look, please don't take up space during the lunch rush on the Lido deck. If you want to play games, and I think they're doing this just on their longer cruises, if you want to play games, we're going to be opening up a portion of the main dining room that's unused at lunch so that people can game. There's an insensitivity when it comes to people on cruises that they really just they don't really even give a hoot about other people. Let's hit the highlights. Don't use your speakerphone in a crowd anywhere in the world because nobody wants to hear your conversation. It's just rude. You're not the only person in the world. Number two, don't be a chair hog. If you're not going to use a chair, don't try to save it for 4 hours until you come out later. Don't save seats in the theater. Don't come late to a show. Don't talk during a show. And certainly, don't take up a table when people are looking for a place to eat during the lunch rush. Look, that's everything that's going on in cruising. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's episode. My name's Tony for La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.